Ranger sold his wardrobe. The Lone Ranger sold his bad dog. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know, 'cause times change, I know.
On some days, he's more than humble. On some days, he's cold and mad, mad as hell. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Those lakes of golden water, those lakes of gold are all running out. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, you say. On some days, he's more than humble. On some days, he's cold and mad, mad as hell. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Those lakes of golden water, those lakes of gold are all running out. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange. Well, I know. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, you say. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, joy, joy. Work, work, work harder, you say.
Where every day's a brand new episode.
start the magic on the Globus Show. It's time to learn and grow on the Globus Show. See the sights, so much to know across the land. Together we go, hand in hand we join the flow. Discover wonders in the Globus Show, where every day's a brand new episode on the Globus Show. It's time to learn and grow on the Globus Show.
The hell are you doing there? What up, Twitch? Eh. What up, Larry? What up, Matt? What up, me? What up, bots? What up, lurkers? What up, tiny people in my chatterino? It's your boy. It's your Apparently, it's snack time. I just fired off the resume and cover letter today. And for people who say that there's no value in AI, guess who helped me write a resume and cover letter? Can't be snacks. Was it Larry? It was not Larry. I did not swap out the camera. Hallucination Machine 2000. Absolutely. He got all Mr. Bitey. He was sitting in my lap, chilling out. And he kept nipping at my hands. It's out there. You gotta find it. Going to start using hallucination when I write my resume too. Then the playing field will be even. There you go. You know, when in doubt, you can just always claim that something's a hallucination. When in doubt, hallucinate. And there he goes. Check him out. And he's back. What are we looking at? Like 20 frames per second? It'll be better with the my C290 or whatever, 920. True, Matt, true. I was hoping to get a new computer this year. We'll see if that's still in the cards. Happy feet. I got them. Happy feet. Hey, but maybe the bubble will burst and I'll get a cheap PC. All right. Y'all want to do some content? Yeah, it's just moving the not goalpost, but it's moving the bottleneck around, right? Well, maybe, Matt. Why not both? So yeah, before we get into the news du jour, what up, Zeke? Let's do the horrors. You are. We haven't even started yet. Horror. Horror. New GT.
For once, I have good news, everyone. The first human trials using cell replacement therapy for the brains of people with Parkinson's have been largely successful. In case you're not familiar, Parkinson's is a neurological disorder that affects 1 in every 100 people in the US over the age of 60. It is a progressive loss of the dopamine-producing cells in your brain. You slowly lose the ability to move, and it ultimately takes lives. It can have genetic causes, although it also seems to be environmental, and until now there haven't been any real treatments, but you can replace the cells in the brain that are responsible for producing dopamine. This was shown in mice and now has been demonstrated in people using stem cells.
Hey.
There are 2 trials that have been effective, one of which used stem cell lines that were made prior to 2001, which is always a little bit funny because there was a moratorium on federal funding for stem cell lines. There actually still is, and the 60 that exist all have mouse cells contaminating them. This is kind of a little problem, and actually still is. When we first made stem cells as humans, we made them from embryos, and then they had to be grown on lawns of mice cells, and they would slowly contaminate the stem cells with things like RNA and DNA and mice stem cells themselves. So if you're receiving any medical treatment with older cell lines, there's a non-zero probability that you are going to get a little mouse in there. At least it worked for alleviating Parkinson's symptoms.
So instead of human brain in the mouse, we're going to put mouse brain in the human.
You should know that now most stem cell lines are made from induced pluripotent stem cells, so you can take something like skin and turn it into a stem cell, and you don't actually have to clone in order to make these stem cells, which seems to be a better deal. Making new stem cell lines from the traditional method using cloning in embryos is now still, it can't get federal funding for it, although it's not explicitly not allowed, it's simply not done. Not to mention, while you can't make new stem cell lines, if you're using ones that were made recently, good luck on federal funding. So again, we now make induced pluripotent stem cells, which is a much more...
So maybe we'll get some kind of Chromebook with a TPU in it, Larry.
complicated process. This is all from a much larger area of research called cell replacement therapy, in which we take cells from healthy donors and put them into your body to help replace damaged tissues. Of course, you can also take your own cells and genetically alter them, or perhaps create induced pluripotent stem cells in order to replace components of your own self. This would have the advantage of not having rejection issues, which, by the way, might be a much bigger issue when you take older cell lines to do things like replace parts of your brain. Mind you, your brain is unlikely to reject. It could still happen. Aside the point, it is a very active area of research, and one of my favorite parts of it is where we take stem cells and grow tiny versions of organs and transplant them into people. It seems to be largely more successful than just stem cells. Yes, researchers have found that you actually need to allow cells to establish themselves before you just...
Well, where's my AI Chromebook, Matt? Mr. Smarty Pants.
chuck them into a person. You're looking at a gut organoid, which, yes, has passed human trials in which you can replace damaged portions of your intestines, which is great because some of the alternatives are not so great. This can be done with hearts and lungs and kidneys and livers, but the one people seem most disturbed about is the brain. Because yes, in those Parkinson's trials, they took donor cells, not from the original person, but from a healthy donor who's able to make dopamine. But there's a question of what makes us us. I think if you're getting other cells that incorporate themselves into your brain, your original brain tissue does have to reorganize itself. So I think it's just incorporating, right? Nothing's changed. Still, at least in mice, they've been able to take brain organoids and replace quite large components of their brain with human versions of it. Yeah, that's a mouse brain with a human brain organoid. So They don't really end up smarter as far as we know when they are grown with human neurons. Right from when they're embryonic, they do end up smarter. I still think they're a mouse, so I have complicated feelings about it. How about you? I would absolutely like to be rebuilt cell by cell. My hip is still bothering me. They replaced it with some metal components. I hope you found this interesting. Follow for more, and I'll tell you about how they made brain organoids capable of experiencing physiological pain.
Do you want to know how they made brain organoids experience physiological pain?
Well, it's going to be very difficult to claim that the tiny human brains that we can grow from human stem cells are not sentient now because now they have a true sensory experience. In case you're not familiar, yes, you can grow tiny human brains, and they're often used for medical research, but they can also be used to operate robots and AI. And yes, they can grow tiny eyes. They do work. They're similar to the optical cups that we grow when we are in utero because your eyes are
I don't know, Larry. Maybe we could put our brains into the AI and beat it that way. What up, X1011?
part of your nervous system. Until now, they've been controlling robots using ordered and disordered signals. They learn because they like order and they dislike disorder. They can give them electric shocks, and with that, they can learn to play games like Pong or Pac-Man. But this is just pure pattern recognition. It's not sensory experience. And that was one thing that a lot of people said would make them not sentient, even if the researchers that did put them in Pong claimed they were sentient because they had the capacity to learn and grow, and they seem to have preferences. Now, sentience is, of course, the capacity to have an experience. How do you give a tiny human brain an experience? Well, clearly they're going to need to have a spinal cord and peripheral nervous systems, and you can do that by assembling them like Legos. They gave them the ability to recognize capsaicin, using a little model organoid that has a spine and thalamus and cortex. Capsaicin is what you feel when you eat a hot pepper and you get that kind of burning pain feeling in your mouth. Some people like it. They applied it to it, and yes, the brains received it through their little peripheral nervous system. They also added neural subtypes that are associated with things like coughing and swallowing, and yes, those two did spike. This is quite a leap forward beyond their preference for order. This gives them a true ability to sense things that are unpleasant, at least in a way that we can physically understand. But why give them the capacity to feel pain? Well, there's good reason for it, and it has to do with funding for this kind of research. That is, by the way, the spider robot that they were first put into. I still love it. You see, a lot of research around things that treat pain are just looking at individual receptors. They're not actually done in an animal like a mouse because that would be kind of unkind. But if we can create a model for a human body, a model for a human brain, including the capacity for pain, then we can actually learn to treat it in an organism. This is a huge reason why a lot of medications don't really work all that well because their original testing was not done in context. And yes, they are essentially reverse engineering people and putting them together in piecemeal. That does not mean that they're highly intelligent or they really understand the experience that they're having, but it is another tool and brings us towards giving them robots with true sensory capacity. This one is actually really interesting because we can create synthetic neurons. We can create neurons that are so similar to our own that they can interface with our own and even respond to things like dopamine and epinephrine. But they could also interface with a brain organoid. We could create robots with a true sensory experience, and even if they have human parts now, they could be transitioned to using synthetic parts. Essentially, it gives us, as humanity, a model for creating a nervous system. I mean, yes, it is literally a human nervous system in miniature. Now, there is one other thing I wanted to talk about this, because we are now transplanting brain organoids into animals like monkeys and mice, and yes, they can give them new abilities that they didn't previously have. In many of the studies, it is used to repair damage to the brain, so restore things like vision. But I did have the question, do we know if there are personality differences in the animals that have had brain organoids implanted into them? And I've found some answers. Well, some answers. Researchers have been trying to treat Parkinson's with stem cells, human stem cells. So if you don't have enough dopamine producing cells, what if you put healthy cells in? And yes, that has been done with pretty good results. But are there personality changes that occur if you
Define pretty good.
have new brain in your brain? And this study actually found out that yes, some. In a double-blind study in which some patients received the transplants and some did not, they actually did have changes to conscientiousness. It's a complex personality trait, but you could consider it to be work ethic. Now, the other
Like more work ethic, more conscientiousness, or less conscientiousness? I feel like that's important.
Group of people who were tested did not receive the stem cell transplants, and they didn't know that they didn't. So only the ones that received it did have changes in their personality. And this is a fairly narrow area. You might consider the production of dopamine could have affected it, but it is curious because they all had the exact same stem cell treatment, so they came from the same embryo. So if we see the transplantation of brain organoids and other stem cells from individuals into
What up, tech bro? It's neat.
other individuals, could it possibly change your personality? The answer is yeah, it's possible. There's slim evidence for it in very small studies. Which of course brings us to the ship of Theseus. How much of yourself can you change before you are no longer yourself? It's not really true that we cycle our stuff.
But how much do you change over the course of your life, right? Like, I'm definitely not the same person I was at previous points in my life. I have changed in a variety of, generally for the better.
Cells every 7 years, your brain cells can live for 100 years or more. Researchers have found when they incorporate brain organoids into the brains of mice, the original brain has to reorganize itself around it, and it loses that capacity as mice grow older. And we'll probably see similar things in people. But remember, we are transplanting fetal cells, and they're very invasive. Not invasive in a bad way, but you can grow them adjacent to the body of a mouse that no longer has its head, and it will make axonal projections into the spine and can even learn to use those muscles. Why do they have this capacity? Because fetal brains need to do an awful lot. When you are just born, even prior, your body does not know what you are going to experience in your life, so it has a great deal of neural plasticity, and that is what is being transplanted, at least into mice. It will one day be a treatment for people, hopefully for things like strokes. I also think it has the capacity to be used for anti-aging. Wild world out there. But yes, I can
I'm gonna live forever.
see why having dopamine at all might change your work ethic. I mean, I have ADHD, and treating it has not seemed to help my work ethic at all. As always, when the robots rebel, I'll probably be the first person to tell you about it. Follow for
Second.
more.
Speaking of robots rebelling, CES happened. Here's everything announced at the NVIDIA Live CES 2026 event in 9 minutes.
Hello, Las Vegas! Today we're announcing Alpamayo, the world's first thinking, reasoning, autonomous vehicle AI. Alpamayo is trained end to end, literally from camera in to actuation out. The camera in, lots and lots of miles that are driven by itself.
You mean like in the full body? Because I know that is a thing. Like you are not as much you. Hey, you are not as much you as people generally think they are, and you know. So what does that say about free will?
Where human drive it, using human demonstration. And we have lots and lots of miles that are generated by Cosmos. In addition to that, hundreds of thousands of examples are labeled very, very carefully so that we could teach the car how to drive. Alpamayo does something that's really special. Not only does it take sensor input and activates steering wheel, brakes, and acceleration, it also reasons about what action it is about to take. It tells you what action it's going to take, the reasons by which it came about that action, and then, of course, the trajectory. All of these are coupled directly and trained very.
You want more crack treat? Oh. Say hi to chat.
Very specifically by a large combination of human trained and as well as Cosmos generated data. And so, but every single car will have autonomous vehicle capability. Every single car will be AI powered. And so the model layer in this case is Alpamayo, and the application above that is the Mercedes-Benz. Okay, and so this
Get the fuck, dude. Talk about a Camry, all right?
entire stack is our first NVIDIA first entire stack endeavor. And we've been working on it for this entire time, and I'm just so happy that the first AV car from NVIDIA is going to be on the road in Q1, and then it goes Europe in Q2, here in the United States in Q1, then Europe in Q2, and I think it's Asia in Q3 and Q4. And the powerful thing is that we're going to keep on updating it with next versions of Alpamayo and versions after that. This car just got rated. It just went to production. The Mercedes-Benz CLA was just rated by NCAP, the world's safest car. It is the only system that I know that has every single line of code, the chip, the system, every line of code, safety certified. The entire model system is based on sensors are diverse and redundant, and so is the self-driving car stack. The Alpamayo stack.
What up, Andy? Yeah, no, I'm not feeling it. I definitely go for more of a classic kind of look, and this is faux alligator, possibly.
Is trained end to end and has incredible skills. However, nobody knows until you drive it forever that it's going to be perfectly safe. And so the way we guardrail that is with another software stack, an entire AV stack underneath. That entire AV stack is built to be fully traceable. And it's taken us some 5 years to build that, some 6, 7 years actually, to build that second stack. These two software stacks are mirroring each other. And then we have a policy and safety evaluator decide, is this something that I'm very confident and can reason about driving very safely? If so, I'm going to have Alpamayo do it. If it's a circumstance that I'm not very confident in, and the safety policy evaluator decide that we're going to go back to a simpler, safer guardrail system, then it goes back to the classical AV stack. We're the only car in the world with both of these AV stacks running, and all safety systems should have diversity.
That sounds confusing as shit.
And redundancy. Hurry up. I got a lot of stuff to cover.
Don't be
Come on.
mean to the robots.
Hurry. Did you tell R2-D2 you're going to be here? Did you? And C-3PO? And today we're announcing that Siemens is also doing the same thing. We're going to integrate CUDA-X, physical AI, agentic AI.
What up, Samanon? They're Disney robots. And they are quite.
No, they didn't have a chance.
They were mean to robots, and then robots killed them.
Nemotron, deeply integrated into the world of Siemens. And the reason for that is this. First, we designed the chips, and all of it in the future will be accelerated by NVIDIA.
They are puppets, though. They're teleoperated. They are not like themselves. So don't get too excited.
We're going to be very happy about that. We're going to have agentic chip designers and system designers working with us, helping us do design, just as we have agentic software engineers helping our software engineers code today. And so we'll have agentic chip designers and system designers. We're going to create you inside this. But then we have to build you. We have to build the plants, the factories that manufacture you. We have to design the manufacturing lines that assemble all of you. And these manufacturing plants are going to be essentially gigantic robots. Incredible, isn't that right? I know. And so Vera Rubin is the person that we named our next computer after. Isn't that a good idea? I know. Okay, Vera Rubin is designed to address this fundamental challenge that we have. The amount of computation necessary for AI is skyrocketing. And if Vera Rubin is going to be in time for this year, it must be in production by now. And so today, I can tell you that Vera Rubin is in full production. This is a Rubin pod, 1,152 GPUs in 16 racks. Each one of the racks, as you know, has 72 Vera Rubin, or 72 Rubins. Each one of the Rubins is 2 actual GPU dies connected together. I'm going to show it to you. The Vera CPU, I'm so proud of it. In a power-constrained world, Grace CPU is 2 times the performance. In a power-constrained world, it's twice the performance per watt of the world's most advanced CPUs. Its data rate is insane. It was designed to process supercomputers. And Vera was an incredible GPU. Grace was an incredible GPU. Now Vera increases the single-threaded performance, increases the capacity of the memory, increases everything just dramatically. It's a giant chip. This is the Vera.
You should give me one. You should sponsor the stream and give me one of these.
CPU. This is one CPU. And this is connected to the Rubin GPU. Look at that thing. It's a giant chip. We now have a new processor called Bluefield 4. Bluefield 4 allows us to take a very large data center, isolate different parts of it so that different users could use different parts of it, make sure that everything could be virtualized if they decide to be virtualized. So you offload a lot of the virtualization software, the security software.
It's a fantastic jacket. I wish I had a jacket so jackety. I am in awe and envy of the jacket. What up, Ponder Monkey? What up, Dojo? What up, Leftist Corp?
The networking software for your north-south traffic. And so Bluefield 4 comes standard with every single one of these compute nodes. We decided that we would create an industry standard system so that the entire ecosystem, all of our supply chain, could standardize on these components. There are some 80,000 different components that make up these MGX systems, and it's a total waste if we were to change it every single year. Every single major computer company, from Foxconn to Quanta to Wistron, you know, the list goes on and on and on.
That's the important part, right? By standardizing a particular architecture, they Walmart that shit, right? They Walmart that shit. What up, Ivan?
To HP and Dell and Lenovo, everybody knows how to build these systems. And so the fact that we could squeeze Vera Rubin into this, even though the performance is so much higher, and very importantly, the power is twice as high. The power of Vera Rubin is twice as high as Grace Blackwell. And yet, and this is the miracle, the air that goes into it, the air flow is about the same. And very importantly, the water that goes into it is the same temperature, 45 degrees C. With 45 degrees C, no water chillers are necessary for data centers.
Okay, that's cool.
We're basically cooling this supercomputer with hot water. This is the world's.
Yeah, that's 113 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, thank you, Ribbons. That's what I was just looking up. That is wild. What up, Old Lobster? I wish Trump would nationalize CUDA architecture and the software needed to run it. Let anyone in the U.S. make these things. Think of the profits. Yep, that's not how he works.
First manufacturing chip using TSMC's new process that we co-innovated called.
I don't know, Ming. I don't know. It seems kind of wild.
COOP. It's a silicon photonics, integrated silicon photonics process technology. And this allows us to take silicon photonics directly right to the chip. And this is 512 ports at 200 gigabits per second.
Meta just paid over $2 billion.
And that was it. That's what we got. So the Manus acquisition explained why Meta paid $2 billion for a rapper. I don't know. When Meta does anything, when Zuckerberg does anything, I have concerns. Right? That poor decisions are being made.
For a rapper named Manus. Not a model, not a breakthrough in reasoning, a rapper. And ironically, even though I say it's a rapper, I do think it was worth every penny. And I think it was worth every penny because of the characteristics of the agentic harness that Manus has been able to create. So there are two kinds of agents in the market right now. Most AI agents are really good at starting something. They'll produce a plan, they'll draft an outline, they'll open up tabs, they'll generate a half-done artifact, and it looks great.
The first one, Ivan. I mean, we can, Old Lobster. It's just what's the motivation? There's not a lot of oil in nationalizing NVIDIA.
Great, but then they can't finish. Manus has been the flagship for finish what you start, for agents that actually do the work. And that is a wide range of work, right? So they're able to do research. Manus can do coding. It can do data analysis. It can create artifacts. It can build websites. And the important thing, the reason Mark bought is really not that menu of capabilities. It is that they have discovered an interaction pattern that scales generally. You give Manus a goal, it runs a long loop of tool calls, and it comes back with a complete result. That is not as easy as it sounds, and Meta clearly felt like the team was onto something special because they absolutely bought. And you might think, well, how do you know that they're using a special agentic harness? Or how do you know that they're actually good at what they're doing? Ironically, I think this supported their valuation. The Manus team disclosed a lot of this in a late summer blog post about how they built.
What up, Barkeeter Jay? Says you subscribed for 1 month, I assume with Prime, and I thank you for that, but I didn't get an alert. So I have no data. But I appreciate you as always, homie.
Long-running agents successfully.
There it is. The price of my love's not a price that you're willing to pay.
A lot of what they did
27 months. We're ending Q1 of year 3.
Subsequently became best practice across the community. This is a case where you might think transparency betrayed the secret sauce, but I think what it really did is it showed Zuck that this team innovates, this team is able to pay attention to details, and this team can execute against very hard problems. And so in their blog post, they talked about stuff as nerdy as how often you hit the KV cache in order to reduce the cost and latency of your model. KV cache is key value cache, basically refers to the idea that you're not going to recompute the input context.
The only thing I can't figure out, it's got to be because it looks better on the emote, but like James isn't a graybeard. So how's he got the graybeard emote? That's my question.
Every time you generate a new token, you're going to hit a cache for it. Well, when you have a very large input cost or a large input string length, a lot of tokens you put in, which oftentimes with agentic artifacts, like you're putting in 100 times more information than you're getting out. Well, in that situation, you want to hit the cache infrequently in order to reduce the cost, but you have to do so really
I would not be surprised.
Intelligently. And so the Manus team pioneered a lot of different techniques for that. And they also pioneered techniques that keep the agent focused on very long tasks that involve lots and lots and lots of different tool calls, lots of working around obstacles. Part of how they do that is they ask the agent to go back and revisit and rearticulate goals over time. So there's a lot of other things we can get into. They pioneered some really interesting stuff around restorable compression, talking about how you can use a file system as a persistent external memory and how the agent can write to that file system, drop stuff out of the context window, and then come back and recover it. And so if I'm Zuck and I'm looking at that, what I see is less today's solution for today's harness and more this team can innovate in the agentic space. They can build really cool and necessary agentic harness innovations that get work done, that clearly are being shown by the market to be worth purchasing. And that's what Meta needs, right? Meta has had real trouble with their last LLM launch. The LLM itself was reported to have fudged benchmarks by Jan LeCun, which is publicly embarrassing to Meta. Meta has an entire new team working on the next iteration of Llama, and they need to not fall behind on the usage of the model, which is exactly where Manus shines. Manus shines as a harness that wraps around a model and makes it useful. Now, you might wonder, where in Meta, what internal tool is Zuck thinking of here? My own best guess is ads. That's always how Meta's rung the cash register. That's how they've lived and breathed. And my suspicion is they want an automated ad builder, a lot like this tool that you can sign up, spend a certain amount on, and it will just build your ads for you that you can then execute and run. And in fact, Meta will just optimize your campaigns for you. And that aligns with the public declarations that the Meta team has made, that they really want to be in a position where all you have to do to advertise on Meta platforms is have a wallet. And if you can...
Yeah, what they really want, the golden goose of ads is it generating an ad for you immediately based on your whatever your area of interest is at that point in time, right? You look at something on Facebook and it generates an ad and puts it right in front of you.
Hey, Meta can do all the rest.
Yeah, that's called allegedly, Ponder Monkey, allegedly. What was it called? Home run? No, confusing it with baseball. I think it was halftime. Sorry, not home run, halftime. Right? Big if true. XAI's halftime AI product placement tool. Elon Musk company XAI recently announced a controversial, my favorite word, new tool called Halftime. It uses generative AI to insert products seamlessly into existing movies and TV shows. This technology dynamically alters scenes, making characters interact with AI generated products rather than using traditional disruptive ad break. What up, T minus the goat?
El sándwich más importante del año.
Harvard Trivia, the lightning round. Go. Pulitzer Prizes. 46. Nobel Peace Prizes.
Jessica, what are you doing here? Eating. I was just...
I was just...
I know, that's not.
Yeah.
So I told Carl nobody, no matter how famous their parents are, nobody is allowed to climb on the dinosaur. But of course, this went...
But he's a boxer and has...
Dum, da, da, dum.
So that's it. That's what you have to look forward to. Yay.
Ad creation, ad spend, ad optimization, campaign creation, segmentation, etc. This is a key part of that. Now, I will say, I don't think it's going to be trivial to take the innovations that Manus created on their own as a tiny startup and integrate that into Meta. If I had to put a probability on that being successfully done this year, I got to be honest with you, I'd put it at less than 10%. It is very, very difficult historically for a large company to take an extremely successful small company, take those lessons learned, and scale them into what that large company is doing in a way that multiplies impact. We will see, but my own guess for now is that Manus will continue to run. It will probably get pulled into Meta's data policies somewhere over the next 2 or 3 months, which is why anecdotally lots of folks are running away from Manus now to get ahead of that. And in the meantime, they're going to try and launch something, I would guess, around ads sometime in the new year. We will see. Now, if you've been using Manus, what are your alternatives? The answer is it's really tough to find, but I'm going to give you 3 different alternatives. And I'm going to tell you really honestly what I think of each of them, where I think they're at, so that if you want to choose something that isn't Manus, that isn't owned by Meta, you've got choices. The first is Claude Code. Claude Code is not really primarily a web-based agent. It is becoming very rapidly a general purpose agent with its roots in the terminal. It's designed first to help you write, edit, and reason about code over extended loops, but it turns out that because it can now touch your browser through the Claude Code extension, because it can now touch your files, it can do a lot more than that. And so people are able to do a lot of finishing work or building work that involves any kind of software, but also that involves web research, that involves docs. I saw someone who was using Claude Code to get a discount on their Comcast subscription because Claude Code was able to autonomously chat with a Comcast representative and get the discount for them. Claude Code is one of those general purpose tools that I think we're just now beginning to get a sense of how wide it runs. It has a very similar harness to Manus in the sense that it's a tool call on a loop. It's absorbed some of the best practices or independently invented some of the best practices that Manus talked about in their late summer blog post around sort of writing good goals into a markdown file, adding skills in more recently, which is definitely a Claude Code innovation. And even more recently than that, adding in some native built eval looping. I don't know if you saw, but there was a lot of discussion on Twitter over the Christmas break about the Ralph Wiggum eval loop, which is not super fancy. It's basically just a script that feeds back the prompt and asks the model if it's done until it's actually done. So Claude Code is one option. It does require familiarity with the terminal. I would say it skews a little bit more toward code than Manus does. GenSpark is closer to the Manus vibe in the sense that
we out here looping and frooping.
That it takes the idea of like busy work, like documents, slides, sheets, research, and frames that as a problem that a super agent inside a browser can go and tackle.
No, Bark Eater J, we're not there. You'll know when we get there, because Ed Zitron will admit he was wrong.
It is probably the closest one-to-one comp with Manus right now. You will have to evaluate for your own work whether GenSpark is as good at finishing as Manus. Having played with both, I found Manus a little bit more reliable, but I'm sure that the GenSpark team has had a fire.
You get me.
Lit under them post-acquisition, and we may see that shift soon as they get, I would expect, a fair bit of incoming business from folks fleeing the Manus acquisition. The last one I want to highlight is very new. It's still in alpha. It's called Do Anything. It's at doanything.com. It is the most directly agentic platform of the 3. It explicitly advertises that its agents can connect with 10,000 plus tools over thousands of APIs. The agents have names, they have email addresses, and it specifically asks during sign up for you to set a very big and ambitious goal that your agent will work on for a long period of time. Sort of like Manus, it's pay as you go. You pay the tokens for what you want to get done. The goaling aspect is a bit different from Manus. Manus has advertised itself as get this task done completely, like build the slide deck and get it all the way finished. Well, Do Anything is advertising more like start a business for me, right? It's a order of magnitude or 2 bigger goal. And what I found when I played with it is that it still has trouble with the finishing aspects. I gave it a big goal. I asked it to start a business for me. And what it came back with was a lot of thinking, a lot of researching, a lot of planning. But then it wanted me to do a lot of work. And so I think that the team at Do Anything is still working out the kinks around what full end-to-end execution looks like.
How dare the AI make me do work? What even is this?
like, and they're aiming at a bigger goal than Manus has, partly because they anticipate gains in model capability that will make that kind of larger start a business goal viable in 2026. So they're aiming at where the puck is going. Ultimately, I think Meta bought Manus because reliable finishing is a scarce commodity. You can think about it like this. Meta may have a team that is building a model. Let's say models are like car engines. They're building a new car engine. You have existing car engines. Claude is a car engine. OpenAI has car engines in Codex, in ChatGPT, and others. But you need a car to go anywhere. And the car is the agentic harness. And what the Manus team is really good at is building the car. And we are all discovering together what a good agentic harness looks like. I think Claude Code, for what it does, is a very strong agentic harness. The Codex agentic harness is very good at a different aspect of code quality, code review, and code construction. It's really designed on a slightly different angle than Claude Code is, but it's also very strong in its own way. And I think we're going to see lots of other agentic harnesses coming as well. And my takeaway from all of this is maybe we should stop thinking about who has the smartest model here. And maybe we should start asking ourselves, what does it take? What are the best practices it takes to build an agent that actually finishes the work it sets out to do? What is the right size goaling for that agent? I think Do Anything definitely challenges our thinking there. And how do we look at the details the way the Manus team looked at the details when we're constructing our agentic harnesses so that we're actually able to build something that does really useful work in a token efficient or cost efficient way? That's harder than it looks, and I think that is the heart of why Zuck decided to go with a acquisition rather than just trying to hire for this. This is not necessarily talent that it is easy to find in the market at this point. So that's the story on the Manus acquisition. I'd be curious what your thoughts are, whether you're going to still use Manus after the acquisition, whether you have another tool you're
No thoughts, head empty.
jumping to, and if so, what that tool is. I think this is going to be a year when harnesses are, in a sense, more valuable than the models underneath them. And that's one of the big shifts in late 2025 that countered the conventional wisdom of early 2025, when everyone thought the models are going to eat everything, the harnesses mean less. Well, as we built agents more and more, the harnesses mean more and more and more. And that's what we're seeing with this acquisition of Manus. Cheers.
AI.
Which one is it? This. All right. Y'all want to talk about the bubble? The AI bubble is popping fast.
I will not replace programmers. I know that's
TM.
not what you've been hearing. For the past 2 years, it's been nonstop. Devin marketed as the AI software engineer, tech CEOs saying AI will dominate their workforce, headlines screaming programming is dead, and the stats seem to back it up. For example, entry-level developer jobs dropped 20% since 2022. Microsoft's code is 30% AI written. Workers aged 18 to 24 are 129% more likely to worry AI will take their job. So if you're a CS student watching all of these headlines and watching AI solve your homework in seconds, the question naturally starts to form, what am I even doing this for? But here's what all the hype and all of the posts are missing. They're confused.
I'm looking forward to reasoned arguments with data backing and not 10 minutes of cope. What up, Joint Specialist?
Confusing what AI can actually automate with what programming actually is. See, here's the problem. Most people think that programming just looks like typing code. You sit down, open VS Code, write your functions, make things work, and if this was all that writing code and programming and development really was, then yeah, AI wins. Because AI is exceptional at writing syntax, because it's been trained on way more languages and frameworks than any human ever will. But the big misconception is that syntax was never the skill. You can ask any senior developer and they'll tell you they just expect you to learn new languages on the fly. Because at the end of the day, typing code is really just the visible part, the part that we can see, measure, and now automate. And I think that's why all of these posts, and that's why AI really looks so impressive. It's extremely good at the part that was already pretty mechanical. But what everyone's missing is that programming doesn't start with code, it starts with ambiguity. Real world problems arrive very messy and very poorly defined. Someone comes to you and says, we need this feature, or users are complaining about this thing, and none of this is going to come as a clean, solvable simple prompt for an AI. And that's why, as a developer, your first job isn't to write code, it's to figure out what the actual problem or goal is. And that requires context, business context, user context. You have to know what questions to even ask. You need to be able to push back when requirements don't make sense. You need to be able to translate all of these vague goals into something concrete enough to build. And no AI or prompt is going to be able to fully capture that like a human can, because the problem itself isn't fully formed yet. It's discovered by sitting through meetings and through conversation and through iteration and having experience and experimenting. And even
sitting through meetings? Did this person just advocate for meetings?
Even once you do know what to build, programming then is still about decisions. For example, making the decision that's more maintainable, or making the decision that leads to less technical debt. You need to think about what's going to happen when the system scales to multiple millions of users, or what if this breaks suddenly? And these questions aren't about what's correct right now, they're about consequences over time. And that's where I think AI really goes wrong, is it can only think about what's happening right now and what you've given it right now. But as a developer, your job is not to think about this.
Right. Like, I'm not disputing that point. However, we live in the eternal now is a thing, right? Yeah, we can think about what's going to happen in the future, but a lot of that can be done now. You know what I mean? Sounds young enough to not know there was a time they didn't hand you a fully developed stack as a head start. Maybe. Eternal now. Eternal now. Zach, the moment that exists between the N and the W of the eternal now. It's the only part of anything that actually exists. Right? Because everything that has gone before is memory, and everything that is coming in the future is imagination. So we all exist in the eternal now. When will then be now? Soon.
This right now, it's to think about the future and have a system that's scalable.
What up, Agricka? Like, are you asking if AI can look at the code and identify a particular problem, or identify, like, you know what the problem is and it can get to that thing that you know, and then it can solve that? I'm not entirely certain what the question is. Yes, I knew Ponder Monkey would get me.
And able to be collaborated on by your peers. And so all of this is why I think the idea that AI is replacing programmers sounds very convincing, but falls apart under scrutiny. Because AI can generate the code, but it doesn't really own the outcome. It doesn't feel the cost of implementing an error and then discover.
What up, Michael? What up, Mince? The eternal meow. Technically, if you meet up with your buddies at a bar to watch a big game, that's a meeting of sorts. True. And adjust an existing software to add a new option, check specific case why the result is proven wrong by human check. Ribbons? Can it?
Covering it months down the line and then having to refactor the entire system because of an AI generated mistake that could have been avoided in the first place. It doesn't get paged when your system crashes. It doesn't sit in meetings trying to balance different things.
He's really pushing this meetings thing, right? Basically, what I'm getting from this is that AI isn't human enough to be a proper coder or proper developer. And that may be true, right? But again, I think it's the wrong. The question is, can AI look at a code and find out why it does not work in a specific way and adjust an existing software to add a new option, check a specific case why the result is proven wrong by human check? That is the question. AI is in another meeting. Well, that's what I'm thinking, Mince, right? Let's have the AI go to the meetings, and then it can transcribe the meeting, and then it can synthesize the meeting, and it can give me what the meeting was about in like a minute and a half rather than the full hour to 2 hours of me watching someone talk about nothing. But my point being, or you know, maybe you figured out a cheat code there, Leftist Corp. Like we talk about Suno, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. When we talk about Suno, right? And people go, well, it doesn't make you a musician, it doesn't make you an artist, right? And that's actually pretty fair under a specific set of definitions. But you just once you reframe your like your job, your position within the process, and move away from being an artist and move to being the producer, something along those lines, that's more accurate what you are doing within that process, right? You are behind the machine getting the artist to create the thing that you want to create. And that's the same thing here. You are not the coder, you are the manager of the coders to get the outcome that you want to receive. Right? So, yeah, you can go to the meetings and talk with the people and then come back and have the AI do the work to make the thing that you want to make.
And different trade-offs. All of these things are what humans and developers need to do. So all of these videos you might see of AI generating entire systems, or all of these demos may look impressive because they show the final 10%, the part that was the easiest to automate because it was already formalized. But even when we do rely on AI for that 10%, here's what we're actually getting. CodeRabbit analyzed millions of pull requests and found AI generated code contains 1.7 times more bugs than human code. Research from multiple universities found 40% of GitHub Copilot suggestions contain security vulnerabilities. Another study testing over 100 AI models found 45% of AI generated code had exploitable flaws.
I wonder what percentage of human generated code has risky security vulnerabilities. That's my question, Leftist Corp. Like, I don't know. I don't have that data. What up, humanity? I don't have that data, but I'm asking the question and I would like that data, right? I think that the fact that I'm not getting that data, right, speaks volumes.
Clear analyzed 211 million lines of code and found an 8-fold increase in code duplication since AI tools became widespread. So here's what's...
I mean, I remember somebody said that somebody posted something to GitHub and then a bunch of people used that GitHub repo to as part of their stuff, and then it turned out that it contained a whole bunch of shenanigans. And that's the other thing. How much of human generated code is intentionally have risky security flaws?
Actually happening when you use AI. It's generating code that looks fine. It probably passes all the tests and ships to production. But like I said, down the line, 6 months later, when you need to modify it, scale it, debug it for whatever reason, that's when you discover all of the wrongdoings that AI actually generated in the code. Could be duplicated logic, or security vulnerabilities, or over-engineered functions that an experienced engineer would have never done. So even though...
Never? I love you, Globus, because I strongly disagree with you a lot, but you challenge everything I think about in interesting ways. I like to ask questions, right? And I can admit that I can be wrong, right? And that's the thing, is I'm not here to convince anyone as much as I'm like, let's analyze this thought process. Let's look through the shit. You know, don't ever be so sure that you know what you're talking about. You know.
All of these AI demos and videos show you an app being built in 5 minutes. They don't show you the aftermath. And I think a really good example of this is the T app. I don't want to go too much in depth into it, but it was a vibe coded app which was performing really well at the start until hackers were able to get into the entire database. Or when you see those posts,
as opposed to, what was it? What was her name? Right? Here we go. Here's something topical. We'll do futurism. Woman hacks Tinder for Nazis, tricks the racist users into falling in love with AI chatbots. Show interest in traditional family roles and heritage, use an approachable tone with a mix of warmth and conviction. Right? And they went ahead and they were able to, like, they get granted access to all sorts of shit. And like burnt the entire thing to the ground, outed everybody who was on it. It's beautiful, right? You know, is this human generated code, or was this, you know, Nazi generated code? You know? What up, Pharaoh?
Of an AI generating an entire game in a minute. It may look decent for a minute of work, but is anyone actually going to scale this game and ensure that it's fully functional without bugs, without glitches, and the
my dude, you went too far. You went too far, because now you stepped in an area that I absolutely can comment on. There was this indie dev team who put together this little game. What was it called? Cyberpunk 2077. It had a couple of bugs in it. Turned out to be janky as fuck. There are so many games like that. Like, holy shit. Yes. Fucking Super Mario Brothers has a whole bug in it that is required for, like, skipping the entirety of the thing and going right to the end, right?
most important part are real people
what up, Bread?
Actually going to play it. But that's not all to say that AI is useless. I think most people just have the wrong idea as to what AI is actually going to replace. It's not going to be software developers or programmers or engineers. So what is AI replacing? Well, to put it simply, it's the mechanical parts. All of the boilerplate code, the syntax translation, looking up documentation, all of the things that have been done thousands of times. And these
thousands of times by people
never really were the core skills of developers. They were just the tedious parts. They were necessary but not valuable on their own. And for these tedious parts, if you're thinking about it from a productivity standpoint, AI is really revolutionary and incredible at this. Microsoft found that developers using GitHub Copilot were able to complete tasks 56% faster. And that goes...
Did we do the thing where AI sucks, but it's... And what is this title? The AI bubble is popping fast. It's like, you haven't demonstrated how the AI bubble is popping.
To show you the power of AI to complete these mechanical tasks. But I think what we all need to open our eyes to is that productivity tools don't eliminate entire roles. They just change what's...
Not entire roles. Again, this is the thing. It's not about the job. It's about the tasks within the job
expected of people in these roles. So AI is raising the baseline for what quote-unquote writing code means. The value of memorizing languages or frameworks or tools is now dropping, but the value of knowing what to build, why to build it, how to evaluate if it's correct, and having experience, well, that's all going up because AI doesn't know when it's
So again, you have to have experience. But again, they are eliminating the area in which you get experience using the AI, right? The junior coder, the brand new guy.
Wrong unless a developer or an experienced person can tell it if it's wrong. All of this still lands on developers, which means in practice, the job shifts. There's going to be a lot less time spent on remembering syntax or writing code line by line. There's going to be a lot more time designing systems, reviewing AI outputs, thinking about trade-offs. The role is starting to...
Until the AI can be trained to review the code.
Shift more towards having better judgment and more experience than the actual execution of writing line by line code. And so this is why I think AI doesn't eliminate junior developers like a lot of people have been saying. It just changes what junior means. Okay. Anthropic's research on 500,000 coding interactions found that even with heavy automation, humans remain deeply involved in feedback loops. So entry-level developers who just copy patterns will struggle, but juniors who understand fundamentals, ask good questions, and have the experience to reason about systems will be able to accelerate faster than ever. So even though
okay, that I think is a fair point, right? Like this is the thing that we talk about when it comes to the AI. Like you have to be able to ask good questions, right? If you're not asking, if your prompt sucks, you suck, right? When it comes to AI. So that I'll give them that point, right? People need to learn. And that's a skill that helps you whether you're working with AI or just working with people. Defining what it is that you want and being able to ask that of another person, huge fucking skill.
you might be able to use AI to scaffold an entire REST API in minutes and think that's impressive. If you then have to spend another 2 days debugging it or actually changing it to be able to scale, well, the AI isn't what failed, it was you that failed. Because AI can give you speed, but it will never give you the understanding.
And Drake, really? 2026 Drake?
I think this is really going to widen the gap between good programmers and great programmers. Not because AI is going to favor experts, but because it amplifies whoever's using it. If you don't understand what you're building, AI will generate confident-looking nonsense. But if you do understand, then it becomes a huge level.
I mean, you can, but you have to... You still have to be interested in doing that kind of behavior, Michael, right? You have to... Like the people who type in something, whatever it is, they never show us, and then go on the internet and complain about how AI sucks. Those people are not interested in having AI to make a better prompt or asking better questions or defining their terms better, right? They drank the Kool-Aid of this concept that's pushed by anti-AI people that you can just type a one-sentence prompt into ChatGPT and you'll get a novel that is both capable of putting authors out of business but also terrible, right? What up, Oxpecker? You know, like that kind of thing.
Leverage and time saver. So all of this is why I think programming and developing isn't disappearing, it's just being
yeah, well, Ryan George is a lying sack of shit. And if you lie to do your comedy, then you're just an asshole, right? Like that's not how comedy works. In my opinion. Maybe you like it, right? Where I can just say something that's demonstrably untrue and that's funny somehow. As opposed to like actually being clever and well thought out and saying the truth in a funny way. I don't know. My favorite comedians are like that. George Carlin, Mark Maron, those type of people.
compressed. The low-level friction and low-level tedious things to do are now being removed, and what's left is what has always mattered, which is being able to think clearly about problems, systems, and consequences. So if you're learning to code right now, the question isn't whether AI will replace you, it's what kind of programmer are you becoming? So if you want to be the kind of programmer who has all of the skills necessary to thrive in the evolving world that is programming with all the new AI tools and with everything going on, well, that's why I use today's sponsor, Brilliant.
Brilliant. And we're going to head out on the Brilliant. At no time did they indicate how the AI bubble is popping fast. Right? At the end, it's just you need to learn how to use the AI tools to because it's the evolving nature of the scene, right? Maxinomics, this came across my feed. Maxinomics, why everyone is wrong about the AI bubble. Everyone is wrong. It's like 100% a clickbait title. It has nothing to do with anything. Anybody? No. Nobody's pointing out that nothing about the AI bubble popping.
This was the first viral video, a live stream of a coffee pot. Students at Cambridge got tired of walking up 2 flights of stairs for coffee only to find the pot was empty. They built a webcam, hooked it up to the internet so they could see when it was full, and by 1995, millions of people around the world had watched the pot fill up and then empty, showing it to friends and family to describe the internet. Creating hype that kicked off the bubble everyone is worried we're repeating today, the dot-com bubble. With each day that passes, more and more...
Everyone is worried about this. I love hyperbole.
People want to know.
What up, walking stick?
Is AI a bubble? Do I need to take AI seriously, or can I ignore it in peace? Because deep down, everybody knows that all bubbles have one thing in common, one critical ingredient, a lie.
Bubble? They inflate?
Lie that the majority of people believe. There are 3 things we're told about AI that could be lies. AI will keep getting...
I mean, the universe is a bubble and it's continually expanding, and I don't believe it's based on a lie.
Getting better. We need more data centers. A lot of people are...
Oh, you kind of hate this guy? That's even better.
Using it a lot. If we want to know if one of those is a lie, we have to understand what the lie of the dot-com bubble was. Have you ever heard of dark fiber? This video is sponsored by Public.com. More on them later. The internet would be how we did everything. Talk to people, bank, shop, date, watch movies. This was the promise of the dot-com bubble. The real world was about to move into the virtual world. Everyone believed it, even though almost no one was on the internet. If you were, it was painfully slow, having to wait and wait and wait.
Uh-huh.
For one of just a few thousand websites to load because hardly anyone knew how to build a website. Web developer wasn't a thing in the 90s. Even if something was built, that thing didn't have a way to get paid by customers. We were still shipping people the internet in the mail. You get this in the mail. Put it in your computer, plug your computer into a phone outlet, and then...
Do people who talk like this not understand the way the development of technology works? Right? Like when someone invented the fucking wheel, it wasn't that wheels spontaneously came into being everywhere where people were, right? The wheel had to go from wherever it was to the next group of people who then saw, holy fuck, I've never seen anything like that, and that's amazing, right? And then they make a wheel. And then so on and so forth. Like, the framing of this is so weird. It's like, oh, there was the promise that people were going to buy shit over the internet, but no one had the internet and no one had the ability to buy shit. And now they do. Fires spread like plague.
you could connect to the internet, sending data back and forth over telephone wires that were absolutely not built for it. Not built for video of a coffee pot to be sent from England to the US. These copper telephone wires could carry 100,000 times less information than this cable.
Right. But that's what we had, right? We had run telephone wire around the world, right? We have run so much telephone wire that it's kind of ridiculous when you think about it, right? Like, theoretically, we could reclaim a whole bunch of telephone wire and get that copper back and do something with it. There was a time when I knew how to, like, install, run a phone line, right? So that my landline phone line could, I could put a new phone anywhere in the house. And I had a phone. Shut it? Really? Automod? Shut it was the problem? Weird. I had a phone with a 50-foot stretchable cord on it, right? Like, and it was one of those joints where it had the number pad on the handset, and and then over time it would end up getting all curled up and wrapped around itself for some reason. Like, I'm not sure what the science is behind that, but inevitably your phone cord, your curly Q phone cord would just eat itself. It was so weird. None of that's necessary anymore because I make phone calls, such as they are, out of a fucking tiny computer I carry with me. We didn't have the tiny computer that I carry with me. Someone had to make it.
Have very long, thin strands of glass. Fiber optic cable could carry more information thousands of miles compared to copper's 5. This copper wire was the bottleneck at the beginning of the internet. And
yes, walking stick, you would hold it off the the balcony or whatever, and it would spin, right?
This fiber optic cable was
oh shit. What are you doing, computer? What are you getting up to? Is that a Firefox problem? I don't have anything going on that should be causing any of this. Yeah, I feel like he did, Pharaoh.